it's great to see, especially the women, I find, particularly inspiring, like, Ava DuVernay and Regina King, who just did One Night in Miami. It's great to see these women who are sort of crossing over from acting into directing, or, they're producing, they have their own companies. They're just telling really good stories, which are therefore able to sort of bring more opportunity, to particularly to, different communities that we haven't heard so much before. I just think it's so important. It's something that I've always exposed myself, naturally, growing up in New Zealand, where filmmakers like Jane Campion, Vincent Ward were very important to me, but so were sort of Korean filmmakers or French filmmakers, or, Japanese cinema, just world cinema, has a huge kind of influence on me as a production designer. I want to hear from the world, not just one part of it. So, yeah, I think it's certainly important in terms of the journey that sort of America's kind of undergoing currently. But I think as more of these initiatives take place and more women and underrepresented communities are given a voice, you'll start to hear from different people. It's really about opportunity more than anything. And Parasite, I think, is a great example of that. A film that sort of wins an Oscar. And, I love Parasite. Was particularly interested in the production design of Parasite. Just because it was so, it kind of represents everything that I admire, I suppose, as a production designer, in terms of its process and the way they went about it. And they're not necessarily things an audience would know, such as the house in Parasite was built from scratch, and it was designed by a production designer as opposed to an architect, specifically for what the director had in mind, how he wanted to shoot it, what he wanted the performance to do. But it just looks like a beautifully architecturally designed house. But I think that's a great opportunity of how production design can really elevate a film and elevate its narrative. And you get something which is, it was just so good across the board in terms of the way it was shot, the way it was designed, cut, the performances, everything that sort of breaks into, the US market and is kind of embraced. I love that. I certainly loved the production design. Probably that was my favorite element. It was just a great example of excellence in screencraft, from my point of view. So it's good to see that, it'd be good to see that happening more often, but also sort of, I think the interaction of other cultures, as well. I mean, I was lucky enough in my time in Australia to work with a company called Blackfella Films, who were the first Indigenous production company. And, I designed the first ever drama written, produced, directed by Indigenous Australians. At the time it was sort of really landmark. It was a series called Redfern Now. And, but it went on to sort of win all the awards in Australia, and now it's on Netflix. It sort of did quite well. But for me, it also gave me the opportunity to work. It was a really different paradigm in which to work. It was probably the only experience I've had where I was on at the very beginning, same time as directors, same time as writers, and really part of that roundtable process, developing the creative. And it's such a great way to work. It's not the traditional model of Hollywood, certainly. But for me as a creative, I think it's, it just makes total sense. Why would you not have your production designer and your cinematographer, contributing to those conversations? It's just a much more meaningful dialogue, because directors aren't production designers, producers aren't cinematographers. So it was great for me to sort of see a very different way of working. And, it's no surprise to me that company just consistently produces work that is, excellent, award-winning, but really speaks to people. More importantly, it's not really about the awards, it's just about the people that it touches, and the fact that, Indigenous kids from all over Australia still write letters in all the time saying, I'd never seen myself represented on screen. I'd never seen my face, I'd never seen a young Indigenous girl, on a television program before. So those things are very important to me. They sort of give everything a lot more meaning.